Hello YouTubers, this is a little video about brake caliper carriers. This particular one is on my son's 2004 N12 Toyota Corolla. I think it's a pretty common problem to a lot of cars. The brake caliper is bolted onto this carrier. That's where it's bolted to the hub, and these bits here are sort of sliding pins which allow the caliper to float around and clear. And as you can see, this one is rusted up and seized in, so I had to give it some serious abuse to try and get it out, and it broke off. So considering you could possibly drill that out, and you can get new pins which I'd bought previously because I'd noticed they were going a bit rusty, and I thought, oh, I'll change them. And of course you don't ever get round to it, and consequently my son was complaining about rubbing noises. And as you can see it's all seized up, and jammed a brake pad in there and rubbed the inside of the brake disc, or brake rotors I think you call them in the States, surface up, ruined the pad, ruined the discs. So it's time to replace it all. The new calipers, or new carriers as I should call them, are made by TRW, I think. That's where these have come from, well, they're the manufacturer. But believe it or not, I actually got them from Amazon. I didn't realise, I thought Amazon sold books and CDs and things, but not these days. They seem to sell it all. And believe it or not, they were the cheapest and quickest delivery. You can see all these pieces float around quite nicely like they should do. And I've also bought a pair of new discs and new sets of brake pads as well. Now, the tools you're going to need to do this job are pretty straightforward, pretty simple job really when it comes down to it. You need a 12mm socket, 17mm socket, a 21mm socket, and bar, ratchet, and a fairly short extension bar, and a pair of grips to push the brake caliper back to allow it to fit in the new pads, and a fairly substantial screwdriver for levering the brake caliper off the disc and what have you. You have to transfer these spring clip things, which are anti-squeal shims and that, over onto the new calipers. They clip in, and that's all good to go then. Right, first things first, we're going to squeeze the brake caliper back and the grips to allow fit in the new pads and what have you. Adjust the grips a little bit. Just another bite. Right, that's pretty well pushed all the way back. Before I did this, I did take the brake master cylinder reservoir cap off. As you can see, the level of the brake fluid's risen up. There's a good bit of West Country English there. So we'll be checking that when we finished. We may well have to suck some of that brake fluid out with, I've got some old syringes, and being very careful not to drop it on paintwork, because brake fluid is a wonderful paint stripper. If you do drop it on there, make sure you wash it off straight away with some hot water and some detergent. Well people, this wasn't quite the next part of the video I was expecting to show you. Got a few problems trying to fit the new caliper carriers. It turns out that TRW don't make the right size ones for the discs that are fitted to that car. He's got 275mm discs, and I think they're only intended to fit the alternative version on, you know, same model but obviously different batch as it were, with 255mm discs. So basically this distance here it's not great enough on the ones that I ordered, so they've gone back to Amazon for a refund. So what we've had to do, we've had to drill these out. Me and my mate, long-suffering mate Dave, managed to do it with the two of us. One of us sort of watching as the other one drills. It's difficult to get them dead central. You can see what I've done with this now. I fitted the new pins and the new bolts and the new little rubber gaiters and all that stuff. So they're ready to go back on. I'm just waiting for the new ones for this to turn up, and I can fit them back on. I don't know whether I'm going to be able to show you very much about how they fit. At the end of the day, the calipers or the carriers go on the car pretty much like that. They bolt onto the hubs like that, and the calipers fit in there, and they're secured with those bolts. And new pads, the pads slip in there. I'll try and show you a picture of it all when it's all put back together, but as it looks like I'm going to be forced to be doing this in the dark, I certainly wouldn't want to be doing it tonight because it's absolutely pouring with rain and quite cold. But I'll probably be forced into doing it tomorrow night because my son would really like his car back, because it's you know, quite an inconvenience. So hopefully next bit of the video we'll see it all put back together, and fingers crossed all working good. Well, here we are again with the everything put back together. We put a new discs, new pads on, and this is these Comline coated discs, which were quite cheap off eBay, and they're nice because you don't have to degrease them or any of that nonsense. They come all clean and with this coated finish on them, which is pretty good. So really, as far as taking this apart and putting it back together goes, the salient points are bolts in the back there. There's one there and one further down. That's the bolts that hold the carrier in place. We've put the carrier back on, complete with the new pins with new rubbers and all greased up with the silicone grease they give you, new bolts, caliper back in place, and that's about it really. It's been a bit of a torturous job for a fairly simple thing really, but obviously, like as I explained, getting the correct brake caliper carriers, you didn't want to be buying them from Toyota main dealers. It's sort of nearly £150 each. So this was a bit painstaking drilling the pins out. The only thing I would say, if you're not adept with power tools and things like that, considering the money you can save, it's probably worth taking it to a local sort of small machine shop. They could probably do it for you. So there we go, that's the whole job back together, and car back on the road shortly. Cheers now.